and welcome back to another episode of R&R. I'm kind of struggling with the names. Bear with me. Uh, to be honest, though, it's a lot of stuff always going on. There's gonna always be some stuff going on in your life, man. It's never gonna be an easy road. You understand what I'm saying? Like everything is gonna be difficult. At some point, and you should want it to be that way. As a person that's trying to be, capital letter, you definitely want to not be afraid to go the hard way. You want to be smart about it, so you don't want to go, because you're hard headed. You just, I don't automatically look for everything to be the easy way. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of hard work. Is what I'm trying to say. So, whenever you practicing, you want to practice, and you be a lot harder on yourself. You know what I mean? Because the harder you practice, the better you are in the game. So you definitely want to be when you in what we'll call the apprentice stage of your life. You know, you want to practice doing things that are the most difficult first, and then it gets easier as you go. This episode, though, we're gonna deal a lot with imagination because in this day and age, I feel like the imagination ain't really utilized as much. It's definitely easier to not have to imagine what's going on with the help of the internet. Back in my day, imagination was almost everything. It's the only thing you really had. We didn't have internet. You couldn't get to a lot of videos and things like that for some of you younger people who, have the internet for your porn situation. We didn't really have that back in the day. You just maybe had some dirty magazines or if you was fortunate to have parents with VCR tapes or something somewhere around the house, you might have access to that. But you didn't really you had to use your imagination a lot more than you do nowadays, and it's definitely necessary to succeed, though. You know, for those of us who've been through adverse situations, um, horrible environments, you have to be strong enough to see yourself outside of that, and in order to achieve that, you have to be able to imagine that there's a world outside of what you're going through right now. And a lot of people don't have that. I've been to a lot of places from everywhere, from you know CG out in Oakland, California, to as far as like Summer Hill out there in Atlanta, Georgia, and some of those people in those areas, they don't see nothing but their own neighborhood. Where they are right there, they don't see more than that. You know what I mean? So you want to be able to. The internet helps because you can see other places, but a lot of times people don't see themselves other than other hood places, for a lack of a better term. You know what I mean? You know, have you ever been somewhere other than somewhere in the hood? Have you ever tried anything different? And it takes exposure, but at first you might just need to be able to see yourself being outside of that. And for some of us, they don't have that, and that's necessary to have because uh, we'll get a lot more into it, but the law of attraction is real. It's kind of scary because you will have what you see. And if you see failure all the time, you see losing all the time, that's what you're going to see. You imagine yourself taking L's all the time and losing for the rest of your, that's what you're going to do. You know? I know we talked about being hard on yourself during practice, but you definitely have to have a positive self talk to be able to get through some of those rough times. And that's why a lot of what's looked at For me, it's looked at as comedy, but it's just like the tragedy. It's so much tragedy. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. So I'm kind of weird in areas where people are like sorrowful and sad, and because I turn that into comedy almost immediately. And a lot of comedy is also having to do with timing. And you know, I don't know if I'll consider myself a comic altogether, but because I've been through so much tragedy, I just how I deal with it is I laugh. You know, I find something to laugh about, and a lot of times I'm off gas, so it makes it a lot easier. But also able to focus and channel that into whatever needs to, where the energy needs to go, so it can do me the most good. Because being angry is not necessarily anybody's friend. For men, a lot of times, whatever emotion you're feeling might start off as anger. You understand? Like the sadness might begin as anger because you're angry as a man. You don't know what to do with that emotion. The last episode we talked about being in control of your emotions as a man. It's not mean that you don't have emotions, but you want to be aware of how you're going to feel and what you can do about that beforehand. And that's where the imagination would come into play. I suffered a loss very recently. Actually, my grandmother just passed, and I love her to death, right? You know, but she was a little bit older, so I was a little bit better prepared for her loss. For a lot of times, there's nothing you can do for that. It's just gonna hurt. You have to go through that, and I didn't want to be around a lot of people that are supposed to be sad. I guess when I would my energy would be a little different, but I'm also a believer, so to be absent in this life is to be present with the Father is my belief. So she believed also, and so I'm pretty sure she would Yeshua chilling and not suffering anymore. But some people don't really, and they might have that understanding altogether, but just don't feel like that right now, and that's okay. I've done a lot of losses. I've taken a lot of losses, seen a lot of death, a lot of tragedy. Like I said, Oakland, California was some of my first exposure to just regular basis tragedy. Like it's just on a regular basis, you're seeing tragedy, you're seeing loss, you're seeing devastation, and it's just kind of normal. You know what I mean? Meet a person one day, hear they're dead next week. Like, yeah, seriously, seriously. It's just, but it's a bigger population, so it's more people, and so it's just. But also, like I said, it's like a lot of people who are in certain areas. They are in those areas. They don't have to leave those areas, so they never seen past those areas. Like a nigga from the '80s be in the '80s. You don't really gotta leave the '80s. Everything is there. You got food, clothing, from the corner store, liquor, phone bill, everything right there in that vicinity. And it's a store that has it, so you don't have to go very far. And for a nigga to be on the east, they really don't even see the west. You know what I mean? And then it'd be problems between certain neighborhoods a lot of times. So it just wouldn't be good for you to even have to go that far. But especially not Richmond or the city. Like it don't even be that much. They don't go that far. Atlanta kind of the same thing. They got trains. You can go to all these different places, but but you have to be able to see it in order to be it. And if it's not happening in your immediate neighborhood, and the good thing about the internet is you can use that to put yourself where you want to be. You don't want to be disillusioned, but you just have to do the work. But the changing of the mind has to happen first. You know what I'm saying? I got a few notes, but losing will happen. You understand? A lot of times you don't want to even try. In order to be successful, though, you have to try. You have to get out there and you have to put in what is called 10,000 hours, and there's no other way to do that other to do it. As there are smart cuts, I like to call them, but usually that means getting around somebody that's also doing to learn how to navigate through certain things. You want to get a mentor, but that means you have to be an apprentice in your mind. Like you have to be willing to learn new things. You have to treat life like you don't know everything. And a lot of times, people who are teenage, young 20s, even up into the early 30s, is nothing you can tell this person they know everything already. And how can you fill a cup that's already full? So you have to keep this childlike mind state of teachability, and you have to be able to be. You have to almost treat things like everybody around you knows more than you know, and that's okay. Because again, you can't learn if you already know. You always saying things, you know what I mean? But along with being teachable and being available, um, there's nowhere you can't go. But it's scary. Putting out content like this for me is not necessarily easy. I have a lot of things going on in my own life, but I wanted to be a doer. So I have. I'm the type of person who will lead by example. I'm not the type of person who lead from behind and give orders and expect people to do things, but I haven't done it myself. I don't know how to do any of it. It's good to be able to learn from other people's mistakes, which is I'm a I'm a I'm big on reading. If you are a believer, Proverbs, one of my favorite scriptures, or books of the Bible. So, but you know, that's just me. I'm not here to push my belief on anybody else's, but a lot of what you're going to want to try to do is definitely have a purpose, and the purpose is going to determine, the direction. But if you don't have one, it's going to be very hard to navigate through life. A lot of people are just out here existing, which is the reason for these videos, is because I encounter a lot of different people on my walk on a daily, and a lot of you guys are just existing. Are you confused? Maybe you don't know why things are happening the way they are to you. And I'm not necessarily perfect at all. I still have a lot of work to do on myself. So it's a struggle for me to put out videos when I know it's things about me that I need to improve, but I'm doing things every day to make sure that I'm improving, so that, because I can't help somebody else if I haven't helped myself first. You understand what I mean? So I'm not trying to preach. I'm just saying, uh, for those of you who want to go further in your life, you're going to want to see different things, new things. First, you have to renew your mind. You have to find a purpose, and that will direct you into what you need to be doing next. I'm just the type of person who wants to get paid to do things that I already do for free, and for a lot of reasons, I go to these jobs and I end up having to have talks like this with people, who may not understand these things. Common sense these days ain't so common, and it's available for those of you who are seeking it, because it do say seeking you shall find. So I'm a seeker. I don't consider myself nobody's teacher. I'm just a person that's always looking to learn. So you know that's my thing. But at any rate, um, you will have what you see. So um, I don't have a lot of people around me that can teach me new things that I want to learn. So I do a lot of book reading, and so that might make me seem like I'm somebody that knows a lot, but it's just the fact that because I don't know a lot, I seek information constantly. And so, on my channel, you might also see a few audio books that I think will do a lot of people good. If you're interested in that, please subscribe, like, share. Show this to your little brother, your younger sister who don't know about what to look for in a guy or a girl. Like I would always say, start with you. Be what you want to see in the world. So you'll attract what you are. So if you're ain't shit nigga, then you gonna get ain't shit bitch, and you shouldn't be surprised with the result. But if stand up individual about something, you have goals, you're attacking those goals. On your walk, you'll see people who are also doing the things that they should be doing. You might meet somebody in a place where if you handling your business, you're in the gym and you see somebody else in the gym and they working out and you working on, y'all serious, and y'all might strike up a conversation together. You know what I mean? And a lot of people do meet people in church. You just have to understand that the church is a hospital. A lot of people are in there for to get better, and it might not be time for anybody to be trying to involve themselves in a relationship. So just people are full of it. So you got to be watchful of where you step. But if you doing the work, you handling business, it's gonna be harder to trick a person who knows what it takes to do what needs to be done. So I would always say, start with you and do the work, and you can't help but attract the type of person you know is going to appreciate you for who you are because you appreciate you. You love you. You know what I'm saying? You love you, and so you know how to give love to other people, but you know when love is not being given because you understand. You know what I mean? It says, and all you're getting, get understanding. So yeah, let's do that. Also, just failing happens. When you're trying new things, you're gonna fail, but you shouldn't be afraid of failing. You should also be aware of the fact that a lot of times within the failure is a seed to the seed to success. It just depends on how you look at things. I like to call it a pivot. You might be on your way somewhere doing what you need to be doing. Something happens, and you have to change your plan. Not altogether, but you have to change. The momentum into something else until you get to where you're trying to go, and you can use that as a vehicle to get where you're going. We'll use 50 Cent as an example. I read the book, The 50th Law, a very good book. I wasn't altogether a fan of 50 Cent per se. There are rumors, but the book was an excellent read because it talks about how, during the time when he got shot, having things done already, nobody wanted to deal with a person who was that risky after him being shot. It kind of slowed a lot of things down, but he was able to use that to take it a different direction and still make everything go the way he wanted to go. I'm hearing things about our Gotti hated on him, so he couldn't get the record deal that he was looking for at the time, but ended up getting one with Eminem and them, and it still went through. You know what I mean? Also, the vitamin water move, and now the man is doing great things with stars. It's like, who knew this person would, you know, be holding stars up on his own, really? Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even have stars, really. It's just whatever. But this could also happen for you. You know, yeah, you lost a job, but you lost a job, went to different places, got something to drink, met somebody else, exchanged a number. This person knows of another job connection that could take you in the direction you were really trying to go, and all because you wasn't afraid to say hello to somebody and ask them what it is they did for a living, and you know what I mean. It's just, it could be that simple sometimes. You know, we in the black neighborhood, we like, a lot of us look at each other and we mug each other, and I don't know you, who are you, but you know, hello doesn't cost anything, and who are you mad at really? I'm not upset, but I don't want people to think I'm soft. but I don't really do a lot of mean mugging because it's not necessary for me. I'm pretty tall though, and I can handle myself. So I have a lot of self confidence in that area, but sometimes it looks like when you're doing a lot of that, you're trying to overcompensate for something. At any rate, you know, also it's just polite to speak sometimes, but I'm not the type of person that won't speak, but you know, you gotta take every situation for what it is. Some people don't want to be spoke to, and that's fine. At any rate, um, it's the little things sometimes, and small talk can take you somewhere sometimes, but you just have to be open to new things. Is what I'm really trying to say. Opportunities are all around us. Um, a winner will continue to win because they don't see a loss as failure altogether. It's just a setback. Whereas a loser who sees himself losing all the time will continue to lose. It's like momentum. You know, object in motion stays in motion, and the object at rest will stay at rest. Once you get going in the direction of how to win, you're gonna take setbacks and losses, but you don't take a loss or a setback as permanent and sit down or lay down. You just dust yourself off and keep going. Anything worth doing is worth being bad at. I'll say that again. Anything worth doing is worth being bad at. So when you first started driving, you can't just learn how to drive by reading the manual. You will have to get behind the wheel at some point and exercise what you've been learning. And it's scary because you might run into something, you might not be able to stop in time, you know what I mean? But you're not going to let yourself be crippled by that and never get behind the wheel. You have to actually do it. And you might not stop in time once or twice, but once you learn how to have things go, how to time yourself, you continue to go forward and you'll learn how to do it. And it just, once you get it in you, then it's you continue to do that whatever car you get into. You know what I mean? So whatever career you get into, you'll learn the ins and outs of that career, and you'll go far in that. Because a lot of people want to go to college, and college is cool, but college does not guarantee you success. School does not guarantee you success. School, it gives you training, and it's funny how college is so highly sought after. It doesn't give you any experience. Experience trumps school. If you've been working in the field for 5 years versus somebody that's fresh out of college, they're going to hire the person that's got the experience over the person that's in college. So you can get a college degree, and that's great, but it doesn't guarantee you to get a job after, and that's the risk that you take. And I'm not down in college. I'm just saying it's not for everybody, and some people, a trade will be better suited for you, but you know, it's your job to know who you are, to know where you're trying to go. When you're a child or you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, these are times when you should be thinking about what you want to do with your life, or what's best suited for you, and you start heading that direction because your parents can't tell you who to be. They can give you what you need to be the best you can be, but you have to pick a direction and head that way. And you know, you might change your mind at some point, but start going in a direction that's best for you and stick to it, and don't be distracted. Set goals, continue to go, and when you come up against hardship, you have to learn how to push through it. Be self-motivating. You know what I mean? Because there's nobody gonna pat you on the back and tell you it's a good job for going to work and showing up on time. What you get for that is to continue to have your job in a check. It's a lot of where the generation gaps is different. So some of these guys, they need to be told great job every time they do something because they've been given these participation awards for just being there. I went to a award ceremony once for a middle schooler that I was graduating in. They did not stop until they gave every student in this school an award for something. They were to the point that we were making up things to give these kids just so they can make sure nobody left without something. And it's made a lot of these kids who are now adults a little bit softer, a little bit weaker. A lot of y'all niggas is tender, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. It's just you have to understand that that's not necessarily how the world works. We don't get a cookie for showing up to work on time. You just get to keep your job, and you get a job so that you know how to get a job, keep a job. A lot of us are all told to be good leaders, but it takes a good follower to be a good leader. Some of y'all waiting on the jokes. I mean, and they might be in here somewhere if you heard something I said that was funny, but like I said, it's not. This is irritating a lot of times. It's not no jokes, not no game. I done had to slap dudes at jobs because they didn't understand who I was, who they were, or the hierarchy outside the job. Because just because things are one way at work doesn't mean that's like that in the real world. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm a bigger guy, so some people like to be able to tell a bigger person what to do, and that feels good. But I can beat your ass, and I'm using a lot of self control on this job because I need the job. But a lot of times nowadays, I don't need the job. So you talking crazy to me, I'm not gonna allow myself to get out of control out of sorts. But it's just it's not very smart for those of you who think that because the person might need a job, they're not gonna do this or that. But you gotta understand, man. There are some ignorant people out here. Some of us are being reformed, and I'm hoping this video is for those of you who are decided that you want to be a better person in your life, because it's not an easy thing, but you're not alone. You know what I'm saying? But hang in there. Like I said, my cash app is $SuperStee SUPERSTE. If I said anything that you can use, please give a like to the video, share, subscribe. It's Jamerson Ballard on pretty much all platforms, especially Instagram and YouTube. And like I said, have a great evening, and thanks for tuning in.